Hello. I'm sitting here in my office and I'm by myself and it's very peaceful. And I have this feeling of communicating something to you, something that's been coming up for different people. And it's one of those universal issues that just about everybody experiences. And the issue is around abundance. And it's relevant to A Course in Miracles because the idea of scarcity is an idea from the ego. And so almost all of us will get to deal with the idea of scarcity, just like we have to deal with the idea of guilt and fear and punishment. So, and I'd like also to preface this all by saying, because of the Western mind and some kind of glorifying of poverty that has been pretty deeply etched into our memories, our universal kind of consciousness. Poverty and sacrifice have been deeply associated with being Christ-like or being a servant to God. And so on our journey, we may feel a lot of resistance to the idea of abundance. And I'm not even saying that a faith that does use poverty as a ladder to God is wrong. I'm not saying that at all. I can never really speak about another path because we can't compare paths. We can just stay true to our own. So if we stay true to A Course in Miracles, then we use any kind of scarcity we might be experiencing or maybe afraid of experiencing, or maybe watching someone or a group of someone's experiencing, for the same thing that we use everything for forgiveness. The Course is really clear that we have everything. And so the way to experience all that we have is by, again, removing the obstacles to that experience. And I think I've said before, this course is a very practical one, so it speaks to us on very lofty levels. But when it comes to applying the principles and working with our teacher or teachers, whatever symbols you relate to, we're using the symbols in our lives right where we are to teach us and to help us learn our lessons of forgiveness. So we do have practical needs. We do have mortgages or whatever. We need food and rent and healthcare and all those things. That's just the way the dream is set up for most of us. And each of these areas can then be a backdrop for learning forgiveness, for raising to consciousness our guilt and fear and all the projections. And what is a projection? It's when I have something in my mind deeply buried in my unconscious, and it appears in my world because I am like the projector, the light through which this program is being played. And so I have to see the contents of my mind. I'm giving everything the meaning that it has for me. So let's say I lose my job, or I lose my health, or, I'm afraid of my future, scarcity, whatever it is. That experience I'm having isn't coming from how many dollars I have in my pocket or in my account when I log in, what the bits and the bytes tell me I'm worth. That experience is coming from my guilty, unhealed guilt, basically. The ego that I'm still identifying as. And it's not wrong that I'm doing that. It's just what's happening. And just as, I think I shared a quote with several of you from Ken Wapnick, who says, in a very eloquent way, he reminds us that if we were in the movie theater and we saw a dot in the middle of the screen as the images were played on the movie, we wouldn't go up to the screen and try to clean it. We would realize that speck is actually a piece of dust on the lens of the projector. So we would go back to the projector to fix it. That's what the Course in Miracles is teaching us to do, to never try to fix the problem out there in the world, even, trying to get a better job or whatever. All those practical steps that we might do if we lose a job or we're not making enough money to pay our bills, those may come in for us to take as steps. But the first thing we do is to remember where it's coming from, and to grab the hand of whatever symbol we relate to. If we feel Jesus is our friend in our mind, then grab his hand. Or if we, like I think some of you know, I've been really resonating with angels lately, and I can feel them, and I feel like they're thoughts of God, and they come, and they're very joyful, and they keep me light. So you could talk to an angel, you could talk to anything that you feel is giving you inspiration and inspired truth from the Holy Spirit. And you ask for help letting this be healed in you. And you just trust. Already in that moment, you've taken the projection back. You've said, the world isn't doing this to me. My boss didn't do this to me. The president didn't do this to me. Global warming didn't do this to me. Whatever it is. And you're now using the situation in a way that will help you grow in this course and find more peace and find more happiness and experience the abundance that you already are. And one of the things that it's really clear on is that we have to be willing to let go of all of our concepts about things, all of our interpretations, because in all of those ideas, the ego is baked, right? And what I mean by that is loosening your thoughts around the idea of money as your abundance, or a specific looking body, or particular practical needs, or whatever it is. We need to serve those up on that platter that I've talked about before and give them to the Spirit and say, show me how to use these, because our programming is that, these strips of paper and circles of metal discs that the Course describes that as money, right? it says, you've given all of these little pieces of paper and discs the meaning that it has. So in order for this to be undone, we don't have to undo it in ourselves, but we have to be willing to be shown. Because that's how we walk through this world in this dream. Everything is a symbol to show us it's not what the ego set it up as. And I have so many examples in my life where this has shown me over and over again that once I was willing to be wrong or open and even wrong, like I say, I'm willing to do anything, I'm willing even to be wrong, that things began to shift. And it really is as simple as that. But we have to be willing to turn over our sacred cow, whatever that is. For me, at one point, I thought it was motherhood and being in a corporate life and world and homes and all of that. And then after that, it was stock and savings and, it was just so much. And I seemingly had to lose everything. And at one point I was down to a few. I had traded in my last several $1,000s for gold coins because for whatever I was really invested in, the money system and the collapse of everything and these conspiracy type of ideas. And so I had several $1,000s in gold coins, which isn't very many coins, by the way. And I was told by the Spirit in a voice in my head to use them to go on this tour I was going to go on, I can't remember the specific thing in that time, but I was already in the community, the spiritual community, and I was told by the Spirit in my head, nobody else told me, to cash it in. And I remember saying to the Spirit, you've got to be kidding me. I have been holding on to this savings for so long, just trying to maintain and be a good steward over this little tiny bit of wealth that I have left so that I can be responsible, yada, yada, yada. And now you're telling me to just give it away or, spend it, cash it out, just like that. And you know what I heard? I'm sure I've told you this story or some of you this story before, but what I heard, and it made such a huge impression on me, was you never made that money. Because that was also a deep part of the story, was that this was all I had left from all the work I had done all those years, those 60-hour weeks, blah, 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 blah. And what I heard so clearly was, first of all, didn't say it like that, but first of all, you never made that money. I gave you that money. And that really took my breath away. And then the voice said, and I gave it to you, and now I'm telling you to use it. Wow. It was so authoritative the way it came into me. And it was so black and white. And it really collapsed a whole big story that I had around that the Laura character did something to earn those gold coins. And she had a responsibility, and it was to keep the gold coins. And all of a sudden, the whole thing became like a Monopoly game in my mind. And I realized, wow, I have given this all the meaning. And the Spirit is saying, yeah, none of that has ever happened. You made that up. And your abundance comes from me. And it comes from me because you and I are the same. And you always have abundance. And that was not fully understood yet by me, but that was where it was leading. And I've had many, many situations since then that have just helped reinforce this for me. Because for me, money was a huge thing. I was so responsible. When I was 13 years old, I got my babysitting going. I was the only one in the house with money because my dad was a teacher and never had very much, and I was able to buy my own school clothes, and I was very independent. I got my first really good job when I was 16, and there was a whole persona, a whole story, a whole belief, identity baked into all of that around money and being responsible. And what I'm not saying is to go out and be impulsive. I'm not saying, hey, go run up all your credit cards because Spirit's got you covered. Or, go borrow money or go spend what you don't have. Or, I'm not saying that at all. No. Keep your job. Don't move. But as anger, fear, scarcity, blame, whatever it is shows up in your mind, in your life, in your outer world, from right there, that place where you stand in it, be honest that this is present, and then ask for help. And resist the temptation to feel abused. And that's another line from the Course, because the ego always speaks first in us. And so the first impulse is always to blame, even if it's blaming ourselves, because that's just the same thing. And I didn't know that for years. Resist buying into it. Let it happen, because it will anyway. But just notice when you're doing it. And don't judge yourself, but then that's a prompt to turn to the Spirit and just say, you know what? I don't see what I need to see here. But I'm willing to be open to you showing it to me. If I'm wrong about something, if I need another way to see it. I used to say, give me a higher way to see this. Give me a better way to see this. I'm your lowly slacker student. I've been on this path for 20 years and I'm still asking you the same old things. So dumb it down for me. Show me in a way that I can feel it and know it. And it works. It does. And you can feel carried in this path. You can feel you don't need to know. You don't need to have the solutions. All you need to do is be quicker and quicker to remember to turn to the one who does have the knowing and who does have the answers. And to be willing to be wrong, to lighten up. Not to be, all impulsive and throw everything away and go join a spiritual community. You don't have to do that. Go be in a monastery. Sometimes that'll happen and that's okay, but it's not about doing at that point. It's about your mind. And what I found is that once I am willing, and then I let go of the outcome. I can't be sitting there demanding an outcome. I have to be in somewhat of a trust position. And I give you that it's not easy to trust until it is. But you just be open and honest, authentic with the teacher within you, and then let it go and go about your business. And then just notice how maybe a little shift happens. And with abundance in particular, what I'd like to share is that we need to be shown what abundance truly is, because we don't know what it is, especially in the West. We think that it's 401ks and stock options and giant houses, and that's not it. I know people with $100,000 in the bank that are terrified of scarcity. When I worked at eBay, there were so many people in Silicon Valley that had millions of dollars in wealth, in worth. And yet, the more they had, the more scarce scarcity they seem to feel. So it really is not about money. That's actually it's a trick. It's an ego trick. So begin to open your mind to being shown what true abundance is. One of the things the Course says that you can remember is that a tranquil mind is not a little thing. A tranquil mind is not a little thing. It's pointing to the true inheritance that we actually want deep, deep, deep down underneath all the layers of fear. We want the peace that passeth understanding, where we're comfortable everywhere we are. No matter what the conditions seem to be, they don't affect us. You can be in the middle of Hurricane Katrina, and yet somehow you're always in the center no matter where you go. Something happens to others, but it doesn't happen to you because you're not in that system anymore. So use any sense of scarcity or a lack of abundance to be a backdrop to learning this course. And if you can, lighten up a little bit. Have the attitude that, you're not sure if any of this is true, but you're willing. And you're interested in being wrong. You're not sure of it, but you're interested anyway. Show me, The Holy Spirit or Jesus, he says, I'm not above you, I'm your brother. I'm your equal. You just haven't gone as far as I have, but we're the same. So remember that and have that attitude with him or the symbols that you like. And remember, you are everything. And you need to see how it comes in for you. Whether it's in beautiful relationships or beautiful thoughts or a place to live or just a gift from your grocery store. I've been hearing about all kinds of little things happening. Well, it's the Spirit showing you, look. But if we don't let it in, then we limit ourselves. And why do that? It's not that we don't have enough trust, it's that we've invested it in the wrong place. And be willing to be taking trust and reinvesting it in the truth, in the Spirit. And the other thought that I have to leave you with is be willing to put all your eggs in the Spirit basket. And what I mean by that is when you can, when you're ready, and I hope it's soon because it's so much easier when you do, give away in your mind all your plan Bs and put them on that platter and give it to the Holy Spirit, whatever it is. Like if this whole trusting God thing doesn't work out, at least I've got blah, 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 Just at least be honest that you might want to keep some of your rage or some of your sadness or some of your, unforgiveness towards someone or something. And be willing to put it on the platter and say, I'm not ready to give this up, but I know I'm having it. And it keeps me from really learning this course. So at least I'm going to come clean. Because at some point, I was told this, and I just shared it today. At some point, we have to get off the fence. And I remember when I was shown this. And it was a really interesting way I was shown. And the message was, you're completely stuck until you get off the fence. Because just imagine you've got one foot going one direction into the world and its ideas and the ego, and you've got another foot saying that it's listening to the spirit, and you're kind of stuck in that limbo. And we're not judged for that, and it takes the amount of time it takes, and we're never going to do it perfectly, right? So I'm not suggesting that you get off the fence once and then that's it forever. But more and more of you begins to be divested of the ego thought system and can laugh when this stuff comes up and can sit with what hurts, knowing that there isn't any solving it out in the world. But while we're still feeding the other side of us, there's a lot of agendas going on, and those are counteracting our efforts to hear the spirit. And there's no judgment. It's just easier when we're all in. We have both oars rowing in the right direction. We have both feet on the same side of the fence. We're at the fork in the road, and we go all in for the spirit's direction. And then be prepared to be delighted by the miracles that start unfolding. And they're little in form sometimes, but big in terms of shifts that happen in your heart, that happen in your mind. Remember, everything is coming from you. So isn't that a joy? You don't have to wait on the world to change. Okay, I think that's all I have for today. And I love you, and I hope this is helpful. And I always like to hear how you respond, so reach out if you feel to, or comment or whatever. And I'll talk to you again soon.